Hello and welcome back to a screencast of using Vectorworks to create a scenic design plan. You have before you your page. I happen to be sitting in a sheet layer right now, a sheet layer. You can tell that in the navigation ribbon up here. Now, what I'd like you to do is also realize that down in this navigation pane, I have both of my design layers turned off. Let's take a quick look at the navigation um, pane down here, or window. There's classes that we can refer to. I'll come back to those later. There are design layers, and there are sheet layers that we can select. And depending on which of those panes we are in or windows that we are in, we'll see a different set of possibilities. Right now I'm in sheet layer 1. What I see over here in design layers is that I have both of my design layers turned off. Let's dive down into those design layers. Right? We can take a look at the theater for a moment. Now, what you may start with in a unique situation to yourself is that you have to draw the theater in, take measurements and everything. We're not going to do that. But I want you to notice that we're here on your D-sized paper. And if I right-click, as I've just done there, right-click, I can come to Active Layer Scale and discover that we are in 1/4 inch scale. Okay? So the other place that you can check this out is up in Tools. Up in Tools, in Organization, you can take a look at all of your design layers, classes, sheet layers, and so forth, and you can edit them there. It's a pretty powerful place to play. I don't use it very often, but when I'm organizing my document, sometimes I need to go into there. Okay, so I have generously provided for you a theater layer and a seating layer. And I'm going to turn on the seating, turn on both of these layers now. Something about navigating layers is important as well. Up here in your View pull-down menu, go to that View pull-down menu, you can see Layer Options. Layer Options. And how you navigate with those layers is determined by what's selected here. So you could just turn on only the active layer and I would only see whatever layer I am in. It's a useful tool, but not something that I use very often. I typically use Show and Snap to Others. You can also use Snap, you can also use Gray and Snap to Others so that the layer that you are in is the only one that's deeply rendered on the screen. And if you're in a really complicated drawing, this can be really useful. Most of the time I spend in Show and Snap Others. Now, Show, Snap, Modify Others allows me to select everything in the drawing, every little bit of everything. This can be kind of useful if you want to find what layer something is in, because the layer is identified in the object information for anything selected up here. So if I wanted to know where that line was located in my layers, I could click on it and it would say, oh, that's in the theater layer. That's also a powerful use of the layer options menu, but it's also risky to draft in that area because you can accidentally pick up or move something that you didn't want to that's in a layer above or below you. So let's get started making some layers, shall we? I'd like to make a new layer. You can make a new layer by right-clicking in the navigation menu down here. I typically have a habit of going to the navigation menu and pulling down the layer menu here and choosing to create a new design layer or a new sheet layer. In this case, I'm making a new design layer. And I'm going to call that design layer the show deck. Okay, that comes up as a dialog box, and I get to name whatever I would like to name it. So let's go ahead and call it, and I like to use all capitals when I can, show deck. Okay, and I will click OK. Now you'll notice that it automatically dumps me into that layer. That's where I'm going to be working now until I tell it anything else. And I might go ahead and make a show deck here. Why don't we? You'll remember that we can take our rectangle tool and we'll pull it out, and I'll say, oh, I want a 28-foot tab, 30-foot return, and then return again. I want that to be my show deck there. I'll X back to my select tool, and then I can even drag that so that it snaps to center line on my little seating section here. I'm not going to ask you to draw a seating section for yourself either. And now I want to move it upstage. I don't want to be touching right on that seating riser. So I'm going to Control M, all right, and that will give me XY coordinates to move that object. I'm going to move it in the X coordinate. It's going to stay stationary, neither left nor right, but upstage, downstage. Let's say that I want to set that 5 feet 0 inches from the front edge of the seating, and I've done so. Now, it looks a little bit like I'm crowding my seating area here. Maybe, maybe not. I might not want to have a walk around space around the outside of this. If I did, I could just come up here and change the dimensions of that to 24 feet. And I made a little bit of a critical error there. I'm going to Control Z that, because I can tell it how to change its relationship by clicking in this part of the object info window. I can say, I want you to take that change in dimension related to center instead of the upper left corner of the object like I did a moment ago. So now we're going to make it 24 feet. And I don't have to recenter it. Now I have space to walk around my show deck that might be raised 1.5 feet, 2 feet, something like that. I started with a 28 feet by 30 feet because you've been building your sketch models in that size. Okay. So there's my show deck. Now maybe I'm going to want to put something on that show deck. So that's going to come in my set layer. Let's go ahead and build all of our layers now so that you can see how this works. I'm going to create a new design layer, and I'm going to call this set. And then I'm going to build another design layer. And I'm going to call that masking. And I'm going to build another design layer. And I'm going to call that catwalk. I'm not going to make you go measure the catwalk. I'm going to provide that for you too. And then I'm going to make another one. It's a little peculiar because it's a layer of this drawing, but it's not really a layer of the building or all of these different layers. We're going to do a cross section diagram here. And we're going to make that a new design layer as well. Now I've got all my design layers, and I have to navigate between them. But let's pretend that I'm kind of dumb, and I decide that I want to now start building my set. I'm just going to come over here and grab my double line tool. Very useful for making a flat. I'm going to make it 3 inches in separation. Remember that we want to be creating polygons always, and if you forgot to default to creating polygons out of your double line tool in the preferences widget here, then you'll want to go back and do that. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to make it a flat here. And let's make this 6 feet 0 inches. I'll tab it and return it, and there it is. Now, what I'd really like to do is also put another flat in here at a different angle to this. I'm going to grab one off of the corner, see how that snapped to the object, and pull it up stage, and this one's going to be 4 feet. All right. And notice how it snapped. It snapped to this corner. And that's because I had the bottom line control line mode on. And so the bottom line, or the right side, if you're looking at the bottom from the right side of the paper, the bottom line of these two lines is what controlled where that went. If I'd have chosen the top line, the line would have been drawn so. And if I'd have selected the middle line, very useful, might have been drawn so. All right. So that's an important function of this navigation tool for the double line tool. So I've got these two flats, but I told you a moment ago that I was being kind of dumb here because they are in the cross-section layer. Do I have to redraw them? No, I don't. What I can actually do is relocate them in the correct layer by coming over to the layer area in the Object Info window and select the layer that I would like it to be in. I want that in a set layer. And you can actually select multiple objects that are in the same layer and place them into the corrected layer. Now I've got these in the set layer. Very good. So now you know how to build your layer stack and put them into practice with objects that are starting to get drawn in them. That concludes this lesson. We'll move to the next.